I'm already at the platform. I thought I'd try to expedite business, and now that you've set us 3 questions, I've got to take my speech up to try to address the points that you've made. But the point I want to address is that there is an alternative to try to express some of the things I feel about where we currently are. Because in spite of the window dressing and the concessions to the idea that there is some kind of partnership working in this coalition government, the truth is, at its core, this government resembles nothing more than a traditional Tory government. And that's what it is. It's the same old Tories. It may be that you don't remember some of the previous Tory governments, but I can assure you I've lived through several. They are appalling. And that's where we are now. They always cut public services, whatever the excuse they might use. They always increase even further the already unjust inequalities which scar our society. And they habitually hand over money to their friends in the form of tax cuts, normally nearer to a general election than we seem to be at the moment. And the 2 men who are at the centre of this government, Clegg and Cameron, come from almost exactly the same background, apart from sharing many political ideas. Both, for example, had families who found fortune in the British financial system, whether it was in banking or whether it was in stockbroking. And what's extraordinary is to look at their experiences at school. Karen, as we know, went to Eton. The story is told before that he went to a very, very posh prep school. And when the mums and dads went along to the sports day, presuming the Bentleys or Rovers, they arrived, there were 3 signs in the grass. The first sign would say, gentleman's toilet over here. The second sign would say, ladies' toilet over here. Then there was a 3rd sign which said, chauffeurs. Extraordinary but true. I read it in the Daily Mail, so it's definitely true. Nick Clegg went to Westminster School, it's kind of slightly down from Eton, but still, £28,000 a year to go to school at the present time. More, as we know, than the vast majority of that country in a year. Extraordinarily, as he went up the school hierarchy, became a bit more senior, he acquired what they used to call a fag, which, for those who don't remember, a junior boy who would be effectively his servant. Amazingly, his fag, Nick Clegg's fag, was Louis Theroux, who many of you will know as a comic or comedic documentary maker. Louis was Nick Clegg's fag, and he says this, he said, I can't remember exactly what I did for Nick, but one of the things I remember was every morning I had to go wake him up with today's newspapers. How extraordinary that that experience should have informed a person's life. And more extraordinary because Louis then had said, by the way, he's a heavy sleeper. Every morning, he said, I had to lean over, shake him on the shoulder to try to wake him up. And in fact, what we have is a cabinet full of millionaires making decisions but out of touch with the daily struggles and experiences of the majority of all of us. But simply, this government simply does not understand the world in which many or most of us actually live. I know that I will be criticised for expressing the above thoughts. I was with Gordon Brown the day he talked about the playing fields of Eton, and he was then accused of launching a war against the rich. But I read what Warren Buffett said. Now, Warren Buffett, one of the richest men in the world, he said, actually, there is a class war, he said. And it's my class, the rich class, that's making the war. And more than that, we are winning. And it was corporate greed, unconstrained markets and tax avoidance, above all in the global financial markets, which brought about this crisis. But what's particularly shocking is the fact that we are now seeing an explosion in the numbers of people who are in work, but also in poverty. And in this great city, we know that we can witness great explosions of wealth on the one hand, but same alongside deeply ingrained and chronic poverty. The story of London in this neoliberal era is, as we all know, a tale of 2 cities. Here in London, it's shocking that 1 in 5 working households live in poverty. Even more shocking, maybe, is the fact that 2 out of every 3 children who live in poverty have an adult in that household who is working. We can be certain that the Tory-led government's economic policy will increase the levels of poverty. The IFS has predicted that poverty amongst working-age adults without children will rise by 300,000 people as a direct result of the choices this government has made. And we are now seeing the shameful spectre, if you saw Channel 4 News the other night, of American-style food parcels being handed out by charities to people in work in the south of England who simply cannot afford to feed themselves, the families, and pay the bills. For a world city like London to have such poverty, not of people on benefits, the so-called idle poor, but of people who are in work, I think it's a total and utter disgrace. And alongside this, and perhaps causing it, is labour market casualisation, resulting in shameful exploitation of workers. In the last year, 200,000 jobs were created. Only 6,000 were full-time. 97% of all the jobs were part-time. It's been calculated that the average worker is likely to suffer the equivalent of a £750 cut due as the result that the cost of living is rising, the crowd took by the VAT rise, while wages are being held down, and lectures are being given by government ministers to trade unions to behave themselves or else.